Hi, welcome to Gifted and Talented Education's P3 English program. In this video tutorial, we will be talking about the FIFA World Cup. Please take the next few moments to read the passage by yourself before moving on with this video. You may start now. As of now, you should have finished reading the passage. Let us look at the first two questions. In the first paragraph, it talks about the beginning of the FIFA World Cup. So the first World Cup was opened at the brand new Estadio Sanitario in Montevideo on 18th July 1930. It was the blank of a new era in world football, and the inaugural event proved a remarkable success. So the key word here is this word, inaugural. Inaugural means the first ever event. So if it's the first ever event, it is the, or rather it was the, what of a new era? The answer starts with the letter S. If you have guessed the start of a new era, you are correct. Well done. Let us move on to the next question. For question 2, there is a couple of clues right here. It is blank in a sporting and a financial sense. Okay, so there are actually two things that are happening now, right? If there are two things happening now, you say that it is a success blank in this aspect and in that aspect. There are two things happening now. What do you think is the most suitable word for it? The answer starts with the letter B. If you have guessed both a sporting and financial sense, you are correct. Alright, now let's move on to the next page. For question 3, the clue can be found in the year. So this happened in 1930, and we are actually talking about the event that happened in 1934, the second ever World Cup. So it's not similar. What is another word for not similar? Okay, take note over here that it comes after a full stop. So you have to make sure that it's a capital letter. Okay, this is a very common careless mistake. The clue for this question is that the answer starts with the letter U. Again, another word for not the same. The answer for question 3, if you have guessed unlike, you are correct. Unlike in 1930, there were no groups and only knockout rounds. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Question 4. For this question, you have to know who the winners were for the first World Cup. If you remember, and you look at the previous page, Italy was the winning team for the first World Cup. So here, it mentioned that the home team prevailed. Okay, the home team here refers to Italy. First, we must know the meaning of the word prevailed. Prevailed means to be superior then. In other words, over here, Italy was superior and they won. So once blank, the home team won. Italy won. It happened one more time. What is the word here? Once what? Okay, the first letter of the word starts with A. Right. For question 4, if you have guessed again, once again, you are correct. Well done. Now let's look at question 5. For this question, we have to know the different ways radio and news is shown on TV or on the radio, right? You say the news program was blank on the radio. The news was blank on TV. There is a news blank. Okay, so that's the clue for this question. It blank on radio. Okay, there are actually a couple of answers that are acceptable for this question. The first word starts with the letter B for boy, and the other starts with the letter T for tango. If you have guessed broadcasted, you are correct. If you also have guessed transmitted, it's actually acceptable. Okay, so these are the two possible answers for question 5. Let us move on to the next question. Question 6. For this question, first we must understand who Rime is. Okay, so you can see that Rime saw his wish blank when the third FIFA World Cup took place in France, his home country. So from here we understand that Rimet is a Frenchman. So having the World Cup take place in his home country, he probably feels really, really happy, right? So you can also say that his wish was... There are two possible answers for this question. One starts with the letter G and the other starts with the letter F. Can you guess the two words? If you have guessed granted, you are correct. If you guessed fulfilled, you are also technically correct, right? Now let's move on to the next question. For this question, you have to take note that Austria was not participating and therefore Sweden did not have an opponent. On top of that, Uruguay did not participate and Argentina withdrew. So not everything ran blank to his plan. The answer starts with the letter A. Can you guess what it is? If you have guessed according to plan, you are correct. Now let's look at the next question, question 8. For this question, you must take note that there was no home victory. In other words, the country that hosted the event did not win. So if that's the case, Italy blank defended their title. Okay, so the clue is this: Italy defended the title. They did it. They won again. So they were what in defending the title? Can you guess the answer? It starts with the letter S. If you have guessed successfully, you are correct. Now take note, for the spelling of the word successfully, it is SUCCESSFULLY. Okay, this is quite a difficult word to remember, so please take note of the spelling of this word, right? For question 9, the World Cup supposed to happen for the fourth time in 1942. Blank, the outbreak of World War II meant otherwise. So in other words, the World Cup actually didn't happen because of World War II. Okay, it's a very easy answer for this question. It starts with the letter B for boy. Can you guess what it is? If you have guessed but, you are correct. Alright? It should have taken place, but the outbreak of World War II meant otherwise. Okay? For question 10, we can see that the Congress met again only on 1st July 1946. This was because throughout the conflict, they did not have any meetings. So, as you can see, it was not blank 1st July that they met again. Okay, the answer for this question starts with the letter U. Can you guess what it is? If you have guessed it was not until the 1st of July, you are correct. Now let us move on to the next page. For question 11, the clue is actually the location. This happened in Brazil, right? The first post-war FIFA World Cup was staged in Brazil. Blank, the hosts lost out on the title to Uruguay. Okay, they're talking about location. Which word would you use to describe a location? It starts with the letter W. It's a very simple word. Again, location is the clue. If you have guessed where the hosts lost out on the title, you are correct. Okay, now let's look at the next question, question 12. For question 12, we can see that Rimet blanked a standing ovation from his fellow delegates and became the first honorary president. It's a very simple answer. People really respected him. He really deserved the applause. So that's why there can be only two answers for this question, depending on how you look at it. The clue for this question is that the word can start with the letter R, or it can also start with the letter E. Okay, depending on how you look at this question. Any ideas? If you have guessed Rimet received a standing ovation, you are correct. And if you say he earned a standing ovation, you are also correct. Okay, it depends on how you look at the question. However, both answers are acceptable. Okay, now let's look at question 13 on the last page. For question 13, first have to see what happens next, okay? Over here, it says that football has enhanced its status as the world's leading game. So it's over the what 25 years. Football has expanded. The clue is that the word starts with the letter N, right? If you thought over the next 25 years, you are correct, okay? It shouldn't be over the past 25 years because it's referring to the 25 years from the time period over here in 1954, okay? Right, so let's move on to the next question. Over here, and for the blank of the business world. So football has opened up new markets for itself, and not only for itself, also for the blank of the business world. Okay, it's a very easy answer. It's the clue is everyone else in the business world. So the answer starts with the letter R. And if you thought for the rest of the business world, you are correct. Okay? Now, for the last question, again, FIFA has become bigger and bigger. They have what to include 208 member associations. Okay? Again, the clue is become bigger. The answer starts with the letter G. Can you guess it? If your answer is it has grown, you are correct. Well done. So that concludes our paper for the P3 English Knowledge Builder Brazil World Cup.